19, yeah. 07. Papa 42, or 13 on run. 094. Read it back to you.
The call for this target came in around noon in mid-July. This is your classic initial attack fire, high elevation lightning strike. Our crew, along with other crews around the province, respond to hundreds, if not thousands, of these fires every year. My name is Charles LeMay. This is Initial Attack. Two of us launched in the helicopter, while the other two crew members drove the fire truck with gear. This is pretty standard. There's only so much you can fit in the helicopter. Even if there isn't a road nearby, we can use the helicopter to bump the rest of the crew and our gear to a nearby spot. As we got closer, we saw fire activity picking up during the heat of the day and made the call to get air tankers on it. A bird dog and 2 air tankers showed up shortly after, and we came up with a plan to box the fire in with retardant. This doesn't put the fire out, but it is a great tool to help buy us time to get established. Once air tanker action was complete, we were able to hike into the fire to size it up, while we had our pilot and an additional helicopter start bucketing operations on the fire to cool down fire activity. Thankfully, there was an old logging road only a few hundred meters away, so our chase truck was able to get to a spot where we could start working from. We started cutting a hose trail from staging to the fire and strung out hose along it, while the helicopters continued bucketing action. The chase truck was able to make it to staging, but the road was too rough for a water tender. We called heavy machinery to fix up the road, and we also called the second crew to help us get around this fire quickly. We worked hard to cut a hose trail and a fuel free around the fire and got hose strung out along it. As we were doing this, we diverted our pilots to fill the bladder instead of bucketing on the fire. This is not an easy task. Thankfully, we had some talented pilots that were able to pull this off without spilling a drop. Bucketing from the air is very effective to help cool the fire down, but pumping water directly through our hose is how we put wildfires out. We fired up the pump and started getting water on the fire, quickly making our way around and extinguishing the edge as we go. The second crew arrived, and using chainsaws, they cut a fuel free around the fire, which allows us good access to work from, and it removes the fuels to burn across the hoseway. At the same time, a danger tree assessor was able to make his way through the fire, looking at every tree within the perimeter, flagging any hazardous tree with highly visible tape so that crews could steer clear of that area until those trees were able to be dealt with and felled. As the sun started to go down, crews finished the fuel free, and we were able to establish a 5-foot wet line around the entire perimeter of the fire, which was a huge win for us, allowing us to call the fire under control. The second crew headed home, and we set up our tents at staging to camp for the night. As we were cooking dinner, heavy equipment came around the last corner, meaning road maintenance was complete, and we can get a tender up here first thing in the morning. We set up our tents and caught a good night's sleep. In the morning, we made breakfast and tore down camp and hiked into the fire to get back at it. First order of business on day 2 was danger tree falling. Now that we had a solid perimeter around the fire and it was under control, we needed to get all the potentially dangerous trees on the ground before the rest of the crew could work their way deeper into the fire. Our certified faller worked to get all the dangerous trees flagged yesterday on the ground safely, and did another assessment to flag and remove any trees that might have become dangerous from burning overnight. A water tender arrived at staging as the last tree fell, and we were able to fire up the pump and continue putting the fire out. By 10 a.m., we had a 15-foot wet line around the entire fire, all danger trees felled, and this fire was ready to be handed off to a Type 2 crew to put out the final smokes. The fire was called out the next day. I couldn't be more proud of the crews on the ground, the pilots we had, and all other fire personnel involved, which had a huge part in helping us catch this fire and get everybody home safely.